Helljumpers, Chapter 3, Part 2. Twilight and the Doctor had been performing medical experiments for almost an hour now, as the Dawn had entered slip space en route for the planet Reach. Scootaloo had been also dragged through a set of tests and scans, of which the results and images were now starting to return. Most of the tests were to see if either species posed a medical hazard to the others, but some of the scans were just to satisfy Kat's curiosity. Needless to say, Twilight and Catalina were both ecstatic about doing science. Scootaloo, on the other hoof, had been hanging out with the ODSTs, who seemed bored out of their minds being stuck with two eggheads. They had introduced her to a game that they called poker, and she was losing badly.
"Oh, come on! How did you know that I was bluffing?"
she shouted as she lost another few chips from her ever-decreasing stash.
"You guys are way too good at this."
The group of ODSTs laughed at the orange Pegasus, of which they had already grown quite fond of.
"You might want to stop twitching your wings every time you bluff,"
Lucy told Scoots with a grin. "Ah, come on, Lucy. We haven't even gotten all of her chips yet." Tyler mock-pouted as he started dealing a new set of cards, but Twilight and Catalina entered the room before they could start another round.
"We finally have the lab results,"
Twilight practically squealed. "So, are we gonna die from space flu, or can we finally get out of this med bay?" Tyler asked, getting a chuckle from everyone else around the poker table. After an eye roll, Twilight answered.
"No, you're not. Neither are me and Scootaloo."
"Good. Doc, can you release the quarantine so we can get some grub in the mess hall?" Mac asked Catalina. "The rest of the crew should be in the freezer now, so we shouldn't have to explain to everyone why we're walking around with mythological creatures." Before Doc could answer, Twilight inquired about something that she had noticed before.
"Mac, you've been calling Scoots and me mythological creatures. How much do you humans know about my species?"
"I'm probably not the person to talk to about this stuff, but we have some stories about horned and winged horses."
"Huh. Interesting, because we also have myths about humans in Equestria."
Twilight started getting confused looks from the humans around her. "Wait, so there are myths about humans in Equestria? That can't be a coincidence," Mac replied. "How old are those myths?"
"About 1,300 years ago. Discord was running rampant at the time, so dates get a bit wonky."
"Discord? Who the hell is that?" Tyler asked, to which Scootaloo answered quicker than Twilight.
"The self-proclaimed god of chaos."
Twilight looked over at the filly with confusion, not thinking that the small filly would know much about him, at which Scootaloo just shrugged.
"I had to write an essay about the idiot after we accidentally released him. I know my stuff regarding him."
Anyway, about 1,000 years ago, as the Renaissance started, myths like that, they started to die out. Some mythical creatures were still featured in artwork, but that was really about it, Tyler continued.
"Huh. That might explain the connection. Discord was imprisoned about 1,000 years ago, so he might have connected our worlds in some capacity. Maybe they still are,"
Twilight theorized. "Things to figure out about another time, but now, I think we can all use some food. Cat, are we free to go?" Mac asked.
"Actually, no. Captain wanted to keep you two mostly restricted to the medbay until we arrive at Reach, and the 5 of you have been assigned to guard duty, so you also have to stay."
"So we're stuck here for the foreseeable future," Mac surmised. "Great. Do we at least get some food here?" Catalina pointed over to another room where a temporary dining room had been set up.
"There was some brought over just in case that we had to have a prolonged quarantine."
Scootaloo, Twilight, and the ODSTs dug into the food supplies, as they hadn't had any food since they got off the planet. Scootaloo somehow managed to wolf down her meal the fastest and stole a package from Lucy's rations.
"Hey, Scootaloo?"
Scootaloo, having already opened the package and taken a bite, was now a bit confused as to why the ODSTs were staring at her.
What did I do wrong?"
Scootaloo, now self-conscious of the fact that she probably did something wrong. Nothing. Have at it. Do you like it?"
"Just tell her, you twats."
Lucy glaring at her squad mates.
"You're eating chicken, Scootaloo."
Scootaloo's eyes widened as she looked at the package in her hooves, only for her to take another bite from the chicken moments later.
"Scootaloo!"
Twilight shouted as all the ODSTs were now crying with laughter as the filly finished eating the chicken and reacted to Twilight with a full mouth.
"What? Is she?"
Twilight looked at Scootaloo with a blank expression.
"I'm gonna go over to the lab. There's too much insanity in this room,"
she shouted as she walked out back to Catalina, who was examining Scootaloo's full body scan. "Well, do you want to try beef next time?" Tyler asked Scootaloo with a grin, to which the filly nodded, prompting another fit of laughter from the ODSTs. As the laughter died down a bit, Twilight called out to Scoots.
Scootaloo, I think you should have a look at this.
Everyone at the dining table exchanged curious glances and decided to join in, as they didn't really have anything better to do anyway. They walked into the lab with a projection of Scootaloo's full body scan as it was projected from a holotable.
Hey, Cat, can you zoom in on the tissue between the wings?
Cat nodded and magnified the projection.
And can you put my body scan next to it?
Twilight's body scan promptly appeared next to the one of Scootaloo.
Now, can anyone tell me the difference between these two scans?
Twilight asked the group, who started comparing the two scans. After a couple of moments, Zoe found a discrepancy between the two holograms.
Are those black spot tissues attached to the base of Scoot's wings? Indeed, but that's not the strange part. The tissue looks exactly like cornu obstructionum, or hornblock, a rare unicorn disorder, as in 1 in 100,000 kind of rare that stops horn growth and mana pool creation.
Twilight squealed.
So, the reason why I can't fly is because a rare unicorn disorder is affecting my wings?
Scootaloo asked with curiosity that Twilight might have figured out why that she couldn't fly.
Can it be fixed?
She asked with a hopeful smile.
Yes and yes. When the tissue is removed in a unicorn, it usually leads to rapid horn growth and increases mana pool creation. So, assuming it works the same for Pegasi, your wings should grow and your magic should increase.
Twilight in her mind already formulating the procedure.
Now, hold on, Twilight. We just can't operate on Scootaloo. Both human and pony leadership would have to give their approval for a procedure like that. Other than that, there's also the fact that we also have to figure out what drugs we can safely use on you ponies.
Catalina stopping Twilight's train of thought.
Well, the pony leadership is already taken care of,
Scootaloo said with a grin.
Isn't it, Princess Twilight Sparkle?
Whoa, Twilight?
What?
No bloody way.
Seriously?
All the humans now staring at the purple pony that immediately started having a Fluttershy episode and clopping their hooves together.
Well, you see, normally I don't really have any authority other than I'm just technically a princess, but without a direct communications line to Equestria, my word has the same authority as Celestia's. So you only have to figure out the other two things,
Scootaloo happily said.
Let's not keep the eggheads from doing their job, guys. I still need to win a poker round.
Starting to trot off to the side of the room when the game was set up, only to be stopped by a cloud of black smoke that seemingly appeared out of nowhere and spit out a scroll. Looking over at Twilight, she could see that she too also had a letter painstakingly levitating in front of her and tearing up a little.
It's from Celestia.